playoff edition. It took 3 months for us to get here, but fellas, man, we're here. It's like it has that pre-Christmas Day feel, except like you know what's under the tree. I'm with Trevor Knight, Bryce Petty, George Whitfield, Dagan Hughes, our producer. Fellas, we're here. We're getting ready. If you're joining us to watch the reveal show, and there's different algorithms and different models they're showing. We talked a bit about this last night on our show, just following championship week, but we didn't get Trevor's perspective. Trevor, in order, what would be your four, and what do you think the committee will do?
Yeah, first of all, every week leading up to this, and we started speculating, obviously, weeks back when the first playoff ranking came out. And we'd tell our thoughts, we'd share them, we'd go back and forth, we'd argue about it. But at the end of the day, we all came to the conclusion we really won't know until after championship Saturday. And that proved to be absolutely true. All we've said on here is, hey, it's a battle for second place. Georgia's the top dog, so on and so forth. And as we saw yesterday, craziness once again in college football. My top four as it stands right now, I put Alabama at number one. With that performance yesterday over the number one team, absolutely the top dog. They, kind of stepped back, didn't play as good a football, if you want to call it that, throughout the year. Everybody said they were gettable. They came out yesterday and just absolutely got it done. They're my number one team in the country. Michigan's at number two. Incredible performance in their championship game. They're a conference champion in the Big Ten. Hats off to that entire staff and that entire program up there. Solid win over Iowa. Can't do much better than that. They're number two. Georgia, I have them just fallen to number three. Still an incredible football team. Has the ability to still go win it all. And then rounding out the top four is the Cincinnati Bearcats. Another Cinderella season. We'll see if they can go up against Alabama in either the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl, however it plays out, and try and make a run at the thing.
So that goes in line with what we went over last night, just as the games just finished. That was pretty much how we all landed on it. Bryce, if you go off of Trevor's point, really the world's point, with Bama being one, Roman Army reclaims, and just as a quick note, preseason rankings. This is the AP preseason rankings for college football. Number one, Bama. Number 5 was Georgia. Cincinnati was ranked 8th. Trevor, do you know where Michigan was preseason ranked?
Were they even ranked?
They were not.
Yeah.
Michigan was in others, behind Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, TCU. How about that? Liberty, Auburn, North Carolina State. Michigan had 12 votes in others. 12 votes. The top 5 to start the season are 5 families: Bama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia. 4 of those 5 ran it right to the end. We lost Clemson, felt like week 1. Bryce Petty, good morning down there in Dallas.
Thank you.
Is this I'm just going to flip the question to you like this. Which do you take? If we gave you $1,000 and you walked into Vegas, would you put it on Bama or would you put it on the field?
I'm going to put that on. Yeah. I take Bama. I take Bama on that, because I think what's going to happen is if you have, Bama playing Cincinnati, I think they get through that game, and then I think you're either going to have a rematch again at playing Georgia, or if somehow, some way Michigan can do what we've kind of talked about last night, which is it's going to be tough, because I think they're going to have to air it out to beat Georgia the way that Bama did. But right now, Bama is just, they have come into their own since that A&M loss. They are really, really, really good on offense. Bryce Young gets them dynamic, keeps them dynamic. Billy O and him have really starting to understand why and how to execute that offense to the best of their ability. Now, in saying that, it just came on the ticker that Minchie tore his ACL. That's not good. He is a dynamic guy on the outside for them. But I still do think that Alabama right now is proven. They know who they are. Georgia's going, man, what the heck just happened? Cincinnati's probably happy there. And then I think Michigan just doesn't have what it takes offensively to get in these barn burners. So I put my money on Alabama.
I'm going to go the opposite way, George. I'll jump in here.
Yep.
Don't disagree with Bryce. And this is honestly a pretty hot take on my standpoint, because why would you ever bet against Alabama? That's what everybody.
I thought you were going to say, why would you ever bet against Bryce Petty? But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he meant.
I've been proven wrong and wrong again all year long on our show. I've had to do beers and Chick-fil-A and the whole nine. I should probably bow down. But the only reason I say that is it's going to be an incredible matchup in the national championship game. I still think it is absolutely going to be Alabama, Georgia. To beat a team like Georgia twice in 1 year is very tough to do, especially in relatively short order. I mean, what do we have here? A month or so until that game happens. That's just the only thing that I'm sticking to of, okay, Georgia, go back, regroup, watch the film, figure out how do we stop Bryce Young? How can we slow him down and put a different plan in place and go out, and it may be, a different outcome. That's the only reason that I'm saying I'm going to take the field. But Bryce, to your point, man, it's tried and true. The head man has been there. He knows how to get his guys ready to play in big time games. Yeah, hey, everybody talk about how we haven't played as well as we have in the past, but when the lights come on a Saturday in Mercedes Dome there in Atlanta, they've been there before. They walk out. They say, "Welcome to my living room." Yeah. They hand you a pot of coffee or a cocktail, and they say, "Sit down and let me show you how it's done." So,
here's what has just surfaced. It just rocketed. It did with us, and I'm seeing it on TV in the last 12 hours. There's heat right now. Of these four teams, there's two position rooms that the world spotlight is now beaming in on. One is Michigan's, you split it, Michigan's quarterback / receiver room, and the other one is Georgia's quarterback room. And when you say you'd be hard pressed to come back around and get the White Walkers a second time, I agree with that. But what we all fell on the same side is that Georgia staff right now is having a discussion about who are they going to trot out there. JT Daniels is now healthy, but Stetson Bennett has been rocking. He was undefeated through November, and he just went out and saw the Roman army and all that depth of coaching and experience, and they got overwhelmed. That is going to be like the most vulnerable point in that rematch. If it happens, it's going to come down to what happens in that Georgia quarterback room. Across the field or a little ways west, you know what Alabama's coming with. Player of the year and the Heisman Trophy winner. And then both teams are matched up. The biggest drop-off or difference is that quarterback room. Almost no matter who you put out there, but you're stronger with JT Daniels. They're going to have to come see that, Trevor. That's why, I could see how Bryce is saying for smart money, probably Bama, because you're really betting on head coach and quarterback. Yeah. Kirby, like, how do you see this Georgia room playing out? You're going to go with them. Well, how do you see them lining up to take on a Bama team the second time around?
So I'll actually kind of flip the script on you here. Stetson Bennett came out in this game, and sure, it maybe didn't appear as though he played as well as he has through November and throughout the season. But based off of the way that they have been beating teams on the defensive side of the ball, he put up enough points for them to win the football game. The defense that we've been talking about needs to go to New York, that is unstoppable, that up until yesterday, they had only allowed the most points they allowed against Tennessee was 17 points. They allowed 41 points in a football game. You're not going to win many football games when the opposing team scores 41 points.
That's true, but Trevor, he's also had the luxury of going out and leading a charge, Bryce, on a team that only gives up 7 points.
Yep.
Like what a wonderful life that would be if you came out and your defense looks at you and is like, listen, we're only going to give them 7. So if you can throw 10 on it, we're out of here with a win. So best defense, and they're the lowest output of all the offenses, but they play like that. They play ball control. They're not a heavy paced team. So, and I think they perfectly play into each other. Why have a 3 wide, 4 wide, shoot from the hip type offense when you have a defense like that? Play to the defense. But now they're going to be asked that whole lean back on 12, 20 points, 17 points. Not now, because the other 3 quarterbacks and teams will get you. And Michigan, I don't really think McNamara is going to light you up, but that coordinator has shown some real creativity. They're getting big plays on run plays between the tackles when he's calling trick plays at the right time. Or they will put a ball up in the air, but it's probably going to a tight end if it's 20 yards downfield. Like he's doing just enough, and they got enough power, but he's doing just enough with his skill to get him some creativity. There's the committee lined up. I just love like days like this. Here's the Michigan team. They've already been through some real wars.
Look at these guys walking. I love that.
They just gotta have so much fun. And then the killer part is when you're watching. Like when I watch these things like this, I used to smile because Clemson and Bama players are like, "Look, I got a schedule. I got things to do today. Go ahead and go. Somebody want to tell us that we're won already, so we can get on with it." Kraken Lobster. This is good. We got business to tend to. And then you see other teams that are like Cincinnati will be like, that basketball team that like out nowheresville is like, please call our name. Please call our name. They know they're going in, but those kids aren't coming in with anything less than just like pure excitement, happy to be in there. They've never sat as a team together this late in the year. And you guys have been in those moments. You guys have both played in New Year's Day games and big games. Like, what is that like? Can you just share with us what it's like to come in, sit in your sweats? Your coach is up there. He's going to give you some kind of good news. We're going to get sent someplace. Like all the work is behind us. Like, can you just run through that, just like an experience or two for us? Bryce?
Yeah, shoot, I could probably do the opposite of it. Yeah. Go ahead, Trevor. I'll take the other side because we got ousted in Phoenix, so I'll give you that rundown.
It's a unique feeling, I remember we had a very little deal. My redshirt freshman year, we were we didn't know if we were going to get the at-large bid or we were going to go play like the Alamo Bowl, and we ended up getting the at-large bid to go play in the Sugar Bowl against Bama. And it was like waiting, anticipation. You really didn't know what they were going to go with. Boom, comes out, Oklahoma going to the Sugar Bowl, excitement. Ooh, you're playing the Roman Army, Alabama, right? So it's like excitement, and then you immediately flip that switch in your head like, all right, boys, time to go to work.
Yeah.
And then, a couple years later, we're sitting there in a position, win the Big 12. We know we're slated to go to the college football playoff, but it's who are we going to play? Sitting there, anticipation. This was a little bit bigger of an event, kind of like you guys just saw on TV. Had some, some balloons and everything going on. Teams sitting there, and it's okay. Oklahoma, you're going to the Orange Bowl. You're playing Deshaun Watson and Clemson. Boom. Excitement straight to let's get to work. It's a cool feeling, but it's like, all right, we got a lot of work to do. This is all fun and games. That the families of the coaching staff are hooping and hollering. They're setting their plane tickets up so they can spend a week on South Beach and enjoy the sun. But from a mentality standpoint, as a player, it's like, all right, we're going there on a business trip. Let's go get to work. Let's get the young guys some reps at the beginning of bowl practice, and then let's get this thing dialed in so we can have a chance to go play for it all.
Bryce?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we got 2014 was the year right before they went to the conference championship for the Big 12. And so we really had to sit back and watch championship weekend, knowing that we were, champions of the Big 12. But man, it's and that's what's interesting right now is you have a couple different storylines. You have a true Cinderella team in Cincinnati. You've got Michigan, who's got really nothing to lose. I mean, they've kind of embodied that. I mean, we were just talking about, hell, they weren't even ranked coming in. So these couple of teams in Alabama, knowing, I mean, shoot, man, they know that roadmap. They draw it up every year. And then Georgia coming in with what was arguably the best team coming in. So championship weekend is always interesting going into what it's like to play in a big game. For us, sitting there going, man, I can't do anything. I can't do anything else, to make our case while you have championship weekend for guys to present their case. So, we were left behind, which was tough. And so undoubtedly you're going to have one of these teams left out, whether that be Notre Dame, whether that be Baylor. And that's just a tough position to be in, because this is what you play for. You play for the conference championship, obviously, but then you also play to get in. You play your way to get in, and it's a tough feeling when you do what you have to do and everything. From the 10 games, 11 games before in the regular season to get to a position to where you can be sitting there with flowers and balloons, and then it not be your name called. So all that being said, there's a lot of ups and downs with this piece of it, because you got guys and girls in a room that are judging your entire season when you put in, your blood, sweat, and tears to get to where you actually have an opportunity. So I think the big games, needing to play, it's going to be really fun watching Cincinnati and Michigan take the field, and I hope they get put in.
I'll ask you a question, George, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's say the committee comes out here in a few minutes and they name Alabama as the number 1 overall seed, right? Mm-hmm. They're kind of split right here in the middle. Do you think that they take the Cotton Bowl, or do you think they elect to go to the Orange Bowl? And what is, I guess, give everybody a little insight of what that decision kind of looks like.
So that's smart, because it is going to be, I don't think people really have that understanding. Hopefully they're going to keep talking about that, but the number 1 team, that is the advantage. At least you get to choose geographically where you want to go. I'll just start by saying, if it was Atlanta or New Orleans, they're going to choose one of those two. But as a coaching staff, and I would imagine with Coach Saban, he's either going to look at, what's more advantageous to us. Like, obviously he's going to do that, but I would presume not going to South Beach, but they're always locked down. You never hear of a Bama player straying or some inside rumblings or outside, just like, you just never hear about that. So, and then Bama travels. So I would assume he's going to try to get his guys to the best place, but it seems like both locations are equal. Like, and if it came down between LA and Miami, they're going to try to stay right here at home and send the other game out there. But I do think that is a factor. And the other thing is, and everything's on TV or on your phone anyway, but recruiting to bring your program physically to a certain area that is of interest to you. Clemson did that a couple years ago when they played in the national championship, and their players, every chance they had, were talking in the media and in the stands. And when they were doing their visits around the Bay Area, they, like, all of those guys are just trying to start to get the word out. And then lo and behold, here in California, when we hadn't seen this ever, the last 2 or 3 years, you see Clemson jerseys. I mean, you see Clemson polos walking high school hallways, SEC teams walking high school hallways, and now you're seeing the return of that. DJ is at Clemson now. Bryce Young and all these guys have gone into the Deep South. So location-wise, that's going to be a great question. I just want to point something out. I pulled up the playoff history here. You know how many times Alabama in 7 years has been in the championship game? Either one of you guys know that?
4.
I don't know the exact answer.
5.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
5. And
5.
they won 3.
Yeah.
So, and then we've only had 7. So in 2020, LSU beat Clemson. and Bama wasn't even a part of the deal. They weren't even in it. And then in 2015, they got in, but that's when Cardell Jones got them. And it was 42-35 Bama. And then Ohio State and Oregon played. And since then, it's been a Bama team with all these different quarterbacks and players and coordinators. Like, they just come back. Really, he comes back, and it's like sorting out who's rolling with him. Like, and again, if you watch this here the next couple of days, Clemson's going to be under a lot of change. If it plays out, he'll lose his defensive coordinator to Oklahoma, which hopefully, and congratulations on that. His offensive coordinator right now, I'm just reading, Virginia and Duke might reach up and take him. What a great opportunity for him. And then he'll lose a couple others because those two guys are going to bring people they know with him. But Saban loses guys every single year and knows it. So it feels like when you watch like Michael Jordan, it's really who's riding with Jordan. Oh, you're on the Bulls and Jordan's there. We'll see them again. Like, but other teams just don't have that. So Clemson has had the affordability to have that continuity and lock his staff down. And so have some other big programs kind of lock their staffs down. They don't got to turn it over all the time. But you got to give it to Coach Saban. Almost every year, he's replacing one or both. And that is a new lieutenant to come in, new language, or he's got to have the language, probably a new mentality on offense or defense, to try and go back and attack the country here. But
I think too, off of that, I mean, there's such a respect factor there that whether you're a fan or not, I mean, the consistency at the level of what he's been able to do the last, I mean, dude, five times in the national championship, and it's only been here 7 years.
Right.
I mean, that's so impressive to do. And I think as a kid coming in, whether you're getting recruited to the transfer portal or what, I swear I love football because there's such and we were talking about last night, George, but that standard of what to expect when you're an Alabama player. It's you either get on this boat or you're out. And I think that what Saban does culturally around that, now he probably doesn't even have to talk about that because it's so athlete and player led. To know that, man, when you come in here, you're expected, whether you're on the bus or not, you're expected to, it's next man up, like we were talking about with the Tua and Jalen Hurts, situation a couple of years back. But man, how cool would it be to and I know that everybody gets upset seeing the same team in there, but man, respect what needs to be respected in the sense that is just really do with guys that are 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, you're not talking about grown men. He makes them grown men, I feel like.
Sure.
But when you come in, you got to understand it. And there's a purple ribbon world out there that these guys, they don't have to go to class in high school and they get a lot of, and the thing is, man, you haven't done anything. You haven't done anything until you played. And there's such a level or a standard level, as we're about to roll out with these, the playoffs here. So it's anyways, I just think it's a really cool thing, man, to be a fan and see and witness that.
Trevor, we did this at the start of the year. We talked about head coaches we would love to play for. To Bryce's point, let's just assume, because we all would, that we would all love to line up and go play for Coach Saban. Take Coach Saban out of these four. Which of the other three, if you could get a chance to portal back and go play, and they said, hey, start next year, we'll let you go line up at one of these programs to play for one of these three coaches, who would you take?
That's a great question because I am a big culture guy. So you talk about Saban and what he's been able to do. Next guy up, doesn't matter who the staff is, players buy in. There's a couple other coaches around just sports in general that I think have that same identity. Greg Popovich did it in San Antonio. Yes, he had great players, but it was next guy up, shuffle them in from David Robinson all the way to Kawhi Leonard and everyone in between. Bill Belichick, same thing. Yes, you have your mainstay in Tom Brady, but shuffle in new receivers, new running back, all that, and he just gets it done. You step in, and it is about the players and the culture that they drive. So I am a big culture guy. Of this group, as it stands right now, it may not be the biggest name, but I'd go play for Luke Fickell for that reason alone. The guy has developed a culture where it's like, hey, I know we're not a top dog. All right. I know that we're in Cincinnati and it's not LA and it's not Miami. And they just come and trust me and trust what we've built here. Step into these colors and you're going to be successful if you just buy into the program. He has gotten to that point where he understands what it takes to get a young man who is green, who's coming in, who doesn't know really what to expect from a college football landscape, and say, hey, look me in the eyes and then look yourself in the mirror, buy into the program, and you will be successful. He's confident in the culture that he's created, and he just seems like a great coach to be around. I would want to emulate his energy and all the things that he brings to the table. So that would be my pick of these four guys. Not saying that I would pick Cincinnati over Alabama, Michigan, or Georgia to go, extend my football career. But from a culture standpoint, I think he's second to none.
I get that. And again, and I'll give Bryce a little more leeway. You're committing to the coach. So just like Coach Riley had commits to Oklahoma and he goes to SC, those kids are going to follow him. Of these three, Bryce, whether they're at the campus that they're on or not, like who would you put your 4 years in there with?
Yeah, I think it's definitely different. You know, if I was 18, I'd probably be a Luke Fickell guy myself. But now that I'm older and was able to play a couple years in the league, I found such a I guess a respect, again, I know I've said that word a couple of times, a respect and a gratitude towards guys that are defensive minded. I think as a quarterback, when you understand why defenses do what they do, from a zone scheme, a man scheme, a blitz scheme, you just get a graduate level of football. And so for that reason, interestingly enough, I think I'd love to go, hang out with Kirby Smart and just learn defense, because he's been doing it for such a long time and had such good defensive schemes, good players. And so there's a passion level to it as well. So that's my pick. I know it's interesting, because I think Harbaugh would be fun to learn graduate level of offense, but I think you building a foundation, especially as an offensive minded player, of understanding why the other side does what they do, that only makes you better, as an offensive player. And I didn't learn that until third, fourth year in the league. And then I'm sitting on my couch talking about now. So
I love both perspectives. Trevor, like they say, like the person you're with most likely had something opposite of the person you left, right? So, and it happens like that with jobs too. So if you're in a spot or you're with a team, you're at a job where the leadership was micromanaging and cold and this and that, you're like, my next opportunity, I'm correcting that. Or if you're with a person and, she's negative and pessimistic and low energy, you're like, I'm gonna correct this too. On my next one, what missing's here is gonna be top of mind on the next one. So Trevor, I get what you're saying, because it almost, as you were talking about Luke Fickell, I kind of start to think back about your coaching staff at Oklahoma. And then when you were mentioning that about Coach Smart, like you were with one of the most transcendent offensive coaches. Yeah. Who was basically like, go Bryce, go. And so like both of you kind of inverted on your answer. Bryce, I feel like I know yours to be true. Trevor, do you think that would be somewhere close? And as I ask you that, it looks like we're up, fellas. We're up. Ohio State came in sixth. So they missed out on chaos, which is interesting. That would have been fun to watch them go in here. Styles make fights.
This is going to be interesting. Is this Notre Dame or Baylor?
I think it's Notre Dame with one loss, right?
I guess we got to talk about it.
You guys are going to have to call it out. I think my screen's a couple seconds behind y'all's.
Mine's definitely is. Dude, Joy's got the best Wi-Fi of anybody in the game. It's incredible how fast this jump
Yeah,
goes.
but we went from caveman status to front line. Notre Dame, the Irish at 5.
Irish at 5. Okay, there you go.
For all you guys watching, this is what it feels like for a player as well. You're sitting there and you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like if one of these teams is your fan base, you're sitting here like, all right, here we go. So I know obviously Baylor fans right now probably a little disappointed.
Well, interestingly enough, that's what Kelly McGrath was saying. There was no mention of playoffs in any post-game interview. So it's kind of one of those things like, hey, good job. You got your conference championship. You have no shot, which I thought, was I think there needed to be some talk, of what Baylor did and was able to accomplish. I think it goes down to one loss, a TCU loss, man. It's crazy how that stuff happens.
They take care of business in Fort Worth. I think they jumped Cincinnati, Cincinnati is now at 4. So
there it is.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, man. That's crazy. Good for them.
Time. They're going nuts, man.
Oh, they have to be.
Oh, that's so cool.
So congrats. I mean, man, you're talking, and for those of you who are riding with us, this is bigger than the football room and the team room. You're talking administrators and, the AD's office and people who are only ever in the football stadium to watch the game, but they're in their support of janitors, everybody that has a hand on that campus in that athletic building. Like they're all standing up and they're all fired up because everybody had some form of contributing, especially in a first ever effort like Cincinnati. Like that's exciting.
Unbelievable.
Well, and to be in a position too where really nobody wants you in there. That's the thing. Yeah. They keep saying, they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody. So for them to just continue to do what they do, and they didn't blow people out. And that was the whole thing is, can they be in here if they don't blow people out?
Right.
And how about that? Oklahoma State losing the way that they did, Georgia losing to Alabama, the way that it's so there's just, chips stacked, in Cincinnati's corner. But man, so happy for them because that's a group of 5, man. They're not supposed to be there, Thrilla. That's what you want.
Georgia is at 3. So we know so I think there's a little bit of drama about 1. I don't think it's a lock, but it's depending on how the committee looks at it. But I still think throttling.
You have to keep Michigan at 2. You have. I mean, that's just you can't make it another rematch. I don't know. I hate getting political. I mean, look, put 2 where 2 needs to be. But I just think again, like what we were talking about, I think this Alabama win against Georgia is a bigger win than a Michigan win. Even though they did beat the snot out of them 42-3.
But
it's still
think about this from a financial standpoint, because now I'm sitting here kind of wavering back and forth. Do you want the rematch in the national championship game, or do you get it out of the way in a playoff game and then have something else, a fresh matchup in the national title game, right? I know that's way down on the pecking order of the rubric, but it's an interesting thought.
I would, if all things are open and equal, I would put the 2 behemoths in opposite sides of the bracket. Let's get the Yankees and Red Sox on opposite sides. And if they are who we think they are, we'll see them later, but don't pit them in there early. This is going to be pretty interesting. Michigan's strength of schedule is 21st. Alabama's strength of schedule is 4th. And Michigan 5-1 against top 40 teams. Alabama 9-1 against top 40 team. It really just speaks to the league you're in.
That's kind of interesting too. And they stood at the first 2 out, but hypothetically, if you guys can run with this with me, if we have 16 playoffs, so you have Notre Dame and Ohio State in there now. Assume number 1 and number 2 get the bye, and 3 and 4 play each other, 5 and 6 play each other. Does anybody walk out of that deal to play an Alabama or a Michigan that we don't expect?
That would be a Georgia-Ohio State matchup, and that would be a Cincy Notre Dame matchup. So we'd see a match there. I think Ohio State any given Saturday, like they're just that scary. Hey, on a quick note on this Michigan versus Bama, if we look at, so there it is, Alabama 1, Michigan 2.
It is. As predicted.
As predicted. Look at that. Trevor, last night we, doing the toast, I split mine from our man McVay from Baylor, running the Cowboy down to keep him out of the end zone. I thought that was just like the play of the year.
Yep.
But I also just recognize for us as college football fans, look who we get. And it's no knock on the teams that didn't get in, but the Roman army is there. Okay, good. We were counting on them. They're in. The White Walkers are in. All right. Hey, there's a Cinderella this year. Oh, where? Okay, good. We never really have one of those. And then one of the most storied programs and talked about head coaches who people pretty much had fired. I remember back in August, people were like, oh, so-and-so would be good for the Michigan job. Oh, yeah, he'd be good for the Michigan. I'm like, God damn. And now all of a sudden, a true royal blue blood has resurrected and they battled in there. And without question, it's not like they backed in. They come charging in. This is great for us because if all hell broke loose, can you imagine what this would feel like if Alabama out, Oklahoma State in? They'd love it in that half of Oklahoma, but the rest of us would be like, man, no Bama in the field. Like, just imagine. So we're in. Bryce is taking Bama. You're taking the field. We're taking your questions. Field of 12. Get your questions in here to our producer, Dagan Hughes. We've already got 4 or 5 questions coming up here. While Dagan's trying to process the questions and get these laid out, Trevor, back to your original question. If you're Nick Saban, which site do you want to play? Do you want the Cotton Bowl or do you want the Orange Bowl?
I think now that we see this and it's true, it really doesn't matter. From a recruiting standpoint, you want to go to Texas and pick some guys off from there, but you also want to go down to Miami and pick some guys off of there. From a travel site, it's pretty equidistant. I think you get fans from Alabama to show up at both. It'll be interesting to see which way they go. I have just a gut feeling that they choose coming to Dallas and going to the Cotton Bowl. They've had success there on a high level. They've won a national championship in that building. I think it's just a little bit more of a home atmosphere than going down to South Beach. Stay away from a little bit of the distractions down there. But if you want Cincinnati to have to travel a little bit further, go on down to South Beach. I'll say this, as a player, I'm putting myself in a player's shoes at Alabama. I'm sitting here going, man, this is awesome. Because of what we just did in the SEC title game, we get Cincy. We don't have to play Michigan in the semifinal game. That's a big difference. Now, what Coach Saban and staff is going to have to do, they have to overcome that. And I think that if there's any team to do that, it's Alabama. Hey guys, it's the color across from us. It doesn't matter if it's Michigan, Ohio State, the New England Patriots, or anybody else, right? Then the person across from us, we're going to go and we're going to play to our standard of football. But in the back of my mind, if I'm Alabama, I'm much happier playing Cincinnati than having to go and get banged up against a tough Michigan team in the semifinal game.
Bryce?
Man, there's so much of me that thinks that Saban would freaking be like, dude, next question on this bullshit. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But if I'm sitting here, recruiting is a big deal. But it's also, if you look, and it might be way down the list, what do we play? Alabama plays on grass. I'm going South Beach and staying.
It's out. Cotton Bowl, Alabama, Cincinnati. Orange Bowl, Michigan, Georgia.
There you go.
We have so let me shoot this question to both of you. This is This is interesting that right now they have the commissioners on. He's talking to Reese Davis. I want to ask my team here. Really, the question came in perfect. Bryce, our man Mario is at Barnett's Public House. You familiar with this spot?
Yeah. Great
That
tacos.
little spot. He said they got they're throwing some back. They're early down there in Waco. He wants to know how much will depth play a factor in the playoffs? And it's a good question. You have three heavyweight teams, three true Power 5 teams. Cincinnati's, front 22 can go with, I think, the rest of these teams, but what happens with 23 through 44, or hell, with Bama and Georgia down to 66? Like, how much will depth play a factor in having to go 2 rounds to get it done?
Yeah, no, I think that's what you always talk about with football. It's war of attrition. It's who can be healthy when it matters most. And this is, for these 4 teams, when it does matter the most. That's the first thing that came to my mind was Cincinnati. They're too deep. There's no way that they're too deep can go with any of these other 3 teams. They have to. But you just got to throw your shots and hope everybody stays healthy. So I definitely think that. What was my guy's name again?
Mario,
yeah, that's a great question, Mario. I think that it is going to be a huge factor. And then the other thing too, I think if you had to look at it, from a skill position, maybe outside of receivers, Georgia probably has the best 2 deep. I would think, just because if you look at quarterback position, they've got a stud in JT Daniels. I think they already play with 3 great backs. Again, outside of receiver position, they're kind of light there. Their defense, it's a plug and play kind of scheme. So I think that they have the best opportunity if things go south in terms of injuries to sustain and make a run.
Trevor, what about the depth? Are you in line with Bryce on this?
Yeah, I mean, because of a playoff, sure, you've got time between now and that semifinal game to get some of your guys healthy. But as a coaching staff, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, please get us through this semifinal game without any blemishes.
Yep.
And you've got to look at the team where, hey, if we lose this guy here or that guy there, it changes the whole dynamic of our team. Yep. Alabama, right? Bryce Young is your team. He's going to hoist the Heisman Trophy. If he goes down in a semifinal game, now you're looking at the national championship and you're sweating. Georgia, on the other hand, and again, this is just looking at the quarterback position. Bryce, to your point, Stetson Bennett goes down, plug and play, like we've talked about all year. You throw JT Daniels in there, you're good to go. So I know that's just one position, but that's the way these coaching staffs are looking at this. So, hey, there's still a lot of football to be played. Let's worry about this first game first, but then we just need to cross our fingers and hope that we don't have any blemishes in the health department so we can put the best team possible out there national championship night.
Perfect. So there we go. Dagan, get these questions in here. Love it. Love it when the sororities have kind of peeked up and looked at this. Ironically, no team from the state of Texas, but to Trevor and Bryce, both of you guys being Texas guys, the Zeta Chi Alpha House is kicking it at O'Bannon's Tap House. Are you familiar with that, Trevor?
Yep.
They're at O'Bannon's Tap House. Ladies, great question. They want to know which unit of the 4 teams, which unit is going to be under the most pressure? Who wants to take that first?
I think I'll take that first. I'm going to go straight at the Georgia defense. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. Allowing 41 points in the SEC title game. That they're going back and they're saying, hey, we haven't had any adversity like this all year long. We had a Tennessee team come out and what we feel like hit us in the mouth, and they only scored 17 points. We just kind of got it handed to us from Bryce Young and those guys there at Alabama. Let's regroup. Let's get things going because this Michigan team is no slouch. We got to come out. We got to start playing out.
So you're saying the unquestioned best unit in college football, even given yesterday's performance, is under the most pressure?
Mm-hmm. coming off that performance, you allow 41 points in a game, you got to go back and you've got to regroup. They have to come out in this semifinal game and go back to who they have been all year long. And that's pressure for a group that has been so confident up to this point. They're sitting there going, geez, we just got smacked in the mouth. And so I think they're going to have to shoulder this one. They are the reason that Georgia team is in the playoff, and they are the reason that they're going to win it all at the end. So that is pressure.
That's a good point. So, Bryce, same question. I'm going to add some to you. Same question, but which coordinator right now, he, just like Trevor was saying, excited to get in, sober now that the opponent is up on the board, and you're like, oh, which coordinator feels the most pressure / unit? Like, who is really getting squeezed right now and being called to step up in a big performance?
Yeah, I think, and man, I apologize. I should know this, but Michigan's OC to me, which
Josh Gaddis.
Thank you. I think he's got to realize and find out how to be dynamic and even more dynamic. I totally get where you're coming from, Trevor, with what you were talking about. I think that if Georgia was playing Cincy, then I would have that in thought process. But because they're playing Michigan, who likes to pound the rock, you're going right in the teeth of Georgia's. Their front seven is dumb. They go play on NFL or on Sundays, and every one of those guys will be. So I think that it's a little bit different. I think the unit wise, I think it's mixed skill guys, and then to your question, George, I think the OC. If he can be dynamic, if he can give Cade McNamara opportunities to push the ball down the field and these guys respond from a skill group, that gives them the best chance to again, attack a Georgia defense that, to your point, Trevor, we saw a little bit of blemish with. I think that on the other side of the coin, just to talk about a little bit, but the Alabama-Cincy game, I think it really plays right into, again, what Alabama does really well, which is they can go toe-to-toe with the spread offense. They can still pound the rock. And I think, Brung is the hottest player right now in college football. Billy O is going to continue to do what he does to get him to produce and execute at a high level. So, going back to it's Michigan's OC to me is how do we get dynamic to get into the game?
You guys think that,
go ahead.
Do you guys think that Cincy has any shot in the world to go out and be competitive against an Alabama team? Or is it, hey guys, we got you in, get your nice sweatsuit, get your bowl gifts, enjoy the opportunity. You guys have been begging for this for a long time now. We got you in, make a little money for your program, and then move on down the road. Or will it be a competitive game?
I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think that Luke Fickell, coming from a monster program like Ohio State, and a lot of those guys on that staff, and Cincinnati has been playing Big Ten-like ball all year. They get up, they travel, they unload, they take out. They went through the village of South Bend. They went through the village of Madison. It was like they've been going in and seeing teams that are bigger than them, deeper than them, but not better than them. And they have the best corner combo in the country, which teams will start. Like now America will get a chance to see these guys. But I think scheme for scheme on this particular Saturday, even watching what Bama did, yeah, I think Cincinnati's in. If we're all looking from the last 24 hours, it's like Bama, Bama, Bama. If you stretch it back the last 2 weeks, Bama went 4 overtimes to beat an Auburn team that Penn State knocked out. And Michigan knocked out that Penn State team. So now we're starting to go down that rabbit hole of this guy beat him and he beat that guy and he beat Ed and all the rest of these guys. But Alabama has shown that you can get in there with them. Now, you catch them on the wrong day or you're flat-footed yourself, your head's going to come off. But, yeah, I think Cincinnati absolutely can stay in there. I think they can beat them, but they're going to have to play at a 99. And you're going to have to steal some possessions on turnovers, and everybody along the board is going to have to be playing at a high level. Bryce, like how do you see that there?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think that Cincy, possesses everything that they need to, and hell, they've 23-0 the last 23 games. So,
Right.
I don't think they're scared at all, and I think that they probably like, this matchup compared to the Georgia Michigan matchup as well. So I think it's going to be a position of to this point, can they play at a 99 and not get in a track meet? Meaning, can we have some things on special teams? Can we have some things on defense where we catch Bryce Young at an 88 instead of his 99 like he's been playing, and that's because I think if it is a track meet, Alabama I think can win that offensively. They're so powerful. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a game.
Quick note, that Georgia Michigan game, we could see 4 quarterbacks in that one game. We know Michigan has a 2-quarterback system. McNamara leads it, but McCarthy, he's in any part of the game, and they've been doing this even in crunch time. Now it behooves you, because should something happen to one of them, the other one's been rolling. All right, let's go to our predictions. We did this preseason. Everybody had their national champ, and then they had their dark horse. Bryce's dark horse is rocking and rolling. Trevor, did you take one of the 5 families to start the season?
I did not. My dark horse was North Carolina. They're obviously in no conversation, but Georgia was my pick to win it all.
I think my lead was Clemson, and my dark horse was Florida. So I really knocked that one out of the park. Let's go now to the playoffs. Let's go to the semifinals. Bama, Cincinnati. Bryce, are you rolling with your Bearcats? Is it a we thing?
No. It's still a we thing, but it's gonna be a Bama thing. No, I got Bama 42-35. I think it is gonna be a game coming out last couple of minutes in the fourth quarter. 42-35.
Wow, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there as well. I think Bama, they're too good. They've been here. They understand what it is. I think Cincinnati will come out with their hair, pinned back, their ears pinned back, their hair blazing. They're excited to be there. They're going to have energy. It may be close in the first half. They're just not going to be able to stick through it through the long haul. I'm going to say 48-21 Bama. And it'll be a late surge by Bama to make it that big of a spread.
I agree with both. This to me feels like Cincinnati is coming uphill to meet a Roman army that has been they're rolling downhill on you. That's going to be tough. I think it's, again, like you got 41-21. Ritter and those corners, I think they're going to play out of their mind. I just think people are really going to see what the difference is. The best group of 5 team versus right now the best Power 5 team. You put them on the field together. Theoretically, everybody's healthy. I think it's a 3-touchdown difference. I'm curious to see what Vegas says. Michigan, Georgia. So styles make fights. These two look like each other, like they really do, and which is going to diversify the championship. So you're going to get a matchup of 2 teams that like to stay outside, stay in the middle of the ring versus 2 teams that are going to brawl. How do you see that one going? Trevor, I'll go with you. Wolverines, Bulldogs.
This is the game, obviously, that I'm really excited to watch. A Michigan team that stayed quiet, that has just been consistent, and now has put themselves in a position to go and fulfill their dreams of getting to the big dance. That they're going to be ready to play. Georgia, as I mentioned, I think they will regroup. They have the best defense in college football. They're the heavy hitter. I think this is going to be an absolute brawl, to use your word there, George. I think I'm going to go Georgia edging this one out late in the game. It's going to be a 35-31 matchup.
Ooh, Bryce.
Yeah, I don't have it going nearly that high. I got 17-10. I think this is going to be one of those, like,
which team?
17-10 Georgia. I think it's going to be one of those deals where, we've seen both these guys put up touchdowns before. But I think this is going to be like one of those LSU, Alabama 6-3 kind of games for a while. I think it's, both teams are going to do what they do, put it up, to the big guys up front. The trenches, oh my gosh, man, I'd love to have a freaking sound mic on this front seven on both sides, because I think Michigan's front seven is arguably, if not right there, might edge out Georgia, to be honest. And I know that's crazy today. I think Michigan's front seven is really, really good. So anyway, I got 17-10 Georgia pulling out. But I think it's going to be a freaking 12 round, haymakers at the end.
Blood everywhere.
Yeah.
So they just showed a stat up on the board. Michigan is the only team out of this foursome not to have trailed by double digits at any point this season. I'm going with Michigan on this one, and I agree with parts of what both you guys said about the style of play. I think it's going to be drama. I really do. And we get drama at this part of the season. I think it's going to be 28-27. I think it's going to come down to a last possession, Baylor, Oklahoma State type, like, holy shit, don't go anywhere type of a deal. All right. So championship game. You two have Bama, Georgia. How do you see it going? Trevor?
I'm going to, back to what we talked about at the beginning, I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think that it's really tough to beat a team twice. Should not bet against Alabama. I know that, but I'm going Georgia, winning it all, national champion. They were there several years ago with Jake Fromm, didn't get it done. Tua had some incredible plays to lift Alabama past the Bulldogs. Here we are. You get your rematch, not only this year, but in that game a couple years ago. I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs, winning it all, 38-28 in the national championship game.
Ooh. So Trevor is going with the Bulldogs. Bryce, are you following suit there?
I'm gonna stay with Old Faithful and Nick Saban doing it again. I 24-17. I think that Kirby Smart's gonna fix some things on the back end. They let up too many big plays on busted coverage, which we talked about last night from Kirby Smart's interview. So I think he's going to clean that up. But I just think that on the offensive side of the ball, they're too dynamic. And what we've said all year, can Georgia play a track meet? I don't think it doesn't really matter which quarterback it is. I don't think they can play that track meet. So I got Alabama 24-17 in that game.
24-17. So you guys go opposite, and to make it even more interesting, I'm gonna go opposite of the two of you. I got Michigan. I got Michigan and Bama in the championship. I'm going Michigan, and here's why.
Wow.
We didn't see Michigan coming, and I thought the best proving ground and the best look at who Michigan was when they got an Ohio State team that can just feel, they can sense Big Ten championships coming. We're on our way. Here comes the playoffs. We're on our way. 3 receivers all over 1,000 yards, and a quarterback theoretically that's in Bryce Young's realm, and a play caller that's within Bill O'Brien's realm, and a team that has that championship DNA. The only team to show up in championships more than Bama in this playoff run is Ohio State. They go in, they take their style, impose their style, and tie them up. Get them on the ground, beat them, and they beat them handily, 42-27. That game wasn't even that close. They found ways to get pressure. They found ways to move the ball. I think Michigan gets Bama. I think it is going to be drama. I don't even have a score that I can even try to spit out, but I think it's going to be really like a chess match, and Michigan brings 2 things to the party: rush ends and a running game. So that's the field of 12. We're going to see you guys the next time we are on here, and we see you. We will be in Indianapolis. It'll be me and the fellas. Christian Hackenberg will be down there with us. We'll be in Indy live for this thing to play out. I don't even know the date technically, but it will be in January, whenever that's supposed to happen. But we can't wait to see you. Come down. We'll get you the information live. We'll be down in one of the spots downtown. Bryce Petty, Trevor Knight, Clint Sterner, Christian Hackenberg, Dagan Hughes, Rob Jeff, George Whitfield, field of 12. We'll see you. Championship.